What's up, y'all? This is Hammer here again, back with another video. And it looks like Black Americans may not be getting reparations after all. Anyway, before we get into it, let's get into our intro. What's up, guys? If you would have told me a couple of months ago that the governor of California would create a task force to study reparations, right? Get Black Americans excited about reparations, get Tariq Nasheed and his ADOS crowd to attack other people as tethers for the past months, just for then Gavin Newsom to turn around and say, "Oh, psych, we're not supporting you," I would have said you're crazy. But it looks like that's essentially what just happened, right? So Gavin Newsom has just come out and said that he will not be supporting cash payments of reparations in regards to Black Americans. And the reason why this is such a big deal, because once again, I've said before, the reason why I personally support reparations when it comes to Black Americans is because I recognize that if Black Americans are able to get reparations in the United States, then that essentially is going to empower the Black diaspora. Because once America pays reparations to Black Americans, then the Black diaspora can get reparations when it comes to Europeans. Because if you notice, right, Jamaicans really only started asking for reparations after Black Americans started asking for reparations. This fire of independence that you're seeing across the Caribbean, this push of Caribbean states talking about how, hey, we need to leave the Commonwealth, we need to remove the monarchies, right? All of this energy really began with the reparations conversation in the United States. And so the reason why I supported Black Americans getting the reparation, we got to recognize that if they can do it, this is going to empower the Black diaspora. But another thing I've said is that, hey, unless Black Americans have some kind of leverage, I don't see it happening. I support it, but I just don't see it happening. And of course, whenever I said this, you will have folks in the chat calling me a tether, talking about all the tethers. You have folks with ADOS, FBA names. Oh, that's why we don't deal with these Black diasporans, right? And it turns out Hammer was right, right? Look, if you look throughout America's history, right, Black Americans have been and have always been the underclass in this country. And if you look throughout America's history, the only time Black Americans have gotten something is when the white collective goes along with it. Like, you cannot get anything done in this country without the consensus, right, of the white majority. When it came to slavery, slavery really only ended because of the Civil War, right? And because white Americans had to pass amendments and laws to abolish slavery. Did Black Americans fight the Civil War? Yes. But let's be honest here, okay? The Civil War was mainly a battle between whites in the North and whites in the South, right? The white majority had to fight a war, and then they had to pass a law to essentially free your slaves. And we know that's true because then, afterwards, they put you guys back into Jim Crow. Then when it came to the Civil Rights Movement, right? Black Americans have been fighting for civil rights for most of the time in America. The only reason they were able to get the civil rights movement done after World War II is because of the context of the Cold War. There are other factors, but one of the main factors was the Cold War. Because every time the United States will try to oppose communism or will talk about how horrible the Soviet Union was, they'll say, wait a minute, you can't talk about morality to us. You look at how you're treating Black people. You're lynching Blacks in your own country, but you want to talk to us about morality and about communism? So because the United States and the white majority understood that they could not adequately fight the Soviet Union and fight communism while having these images of Black people being hosed down, that's when they got civil rights through. So in other words, it wasn't until the white majority agreed to give Black Americans civil rights that it went through. Okay, and there's a geopolitical context, which is the Cold War, which led to that. Now, when it comes to reparations, the same rules apply. Unless the white majority decides that it is in their interest to do so, they're not going to get this stuff through because, once again, you are a minority group. You cannot get anything done by yourself. And to make it worse, all of these other non-white groups are trying to rely on white people. The only real allies you have are black, is the black diaspora for the most part. Which is the reason why I never understood why the 80 West FBA crowd goes so hard at black diasporans. Like, wait a minute. We're the only allies you really have. Because once we come to America, we're instantly classified as black. But every other non-black group, they have no reason to be aligned with you. But it's crazy how Hispanics, whites, Asians can spit in the face of black Americans all day, and black America will find a way to still say black and brown and try to be friends with them. But then when it comes to the black diasporans, right, they're so quick to throw you over the bus and call you a tether. It's funny to me. But anyway, let's get into a video and see what's going on.
New this morning, Governor Newsom appears to not be on board with the idea of paying money to address California's history with slavery.
Well, yesterday he told CNN reporters that a legacy like this is about more than cash.
Now, guys, okay? You guys already know how, white Democrats / white liberals operate, right? Because when he starts talking about equity, about lifting all ships, when he starts saying, oh, well, slavery is more than cash, what he's telling you is, yeah, we're not giving you anything. And people need to understand that when he did this, right, there was a lot of backlash within the white majority. It's not just white conservatives, because people need to understand, the official position of the Democratic Party is that they do not support reparations. The official position of Joe Biden is that he does not support reparations. So what does that mean? That even Gavin Newsom putting this task force in place, he was essentially going against party line. And I promise you, white liberals push him to the side and say, look, I understand you're trying to get black voters, but you're going too far. You're going to have to order shit back. Especially when the task force talked about how they wanted to give each black American, I think, $1 million. That's when you start to see folks get mad. But another thing that got me really upset was that when I was on Twitter yesterday, right? On Twitter, you have all of these white conservatives making fun of black Americans. Say, see, y'all got played. And yeah, you still vote Democrat. I'm like, wait a minute, okay? Yes, white liberals don't care that much about black voters. White liberals, in many ways, their focus is to trying to replace black voters with Hispanics, right? I've had this conversation before. White Democrats, right? The only reason why white Democrats appeal to minorities is because the majority of white voters vote Republican. The majority of white people in America vote Republican. So that means the GOP does not need minority voters. It can just focus on white. But because of this, it means that white Democrats, have to rely on minority voters. And the minority voter that they don't like the most is blacks. Why? Because Black Americans are the only minority group in this country that have a legitimate claims. Black Americans are the only group that have legitimate grievance claims. And so when they come to the Democratic Party, they have this long history, long grievances they want the party to address. But the issue is that this puts white Democrats in a bad position because why? They recognize that other non-black minorities, right? They do not want black people's grievance claim to be the center of the conversation. And so the fear is if they actually try to really address the sort of grievance claims of black Americans, then what that would do is it would alienate other minority groups to vote on the other side. And so the only way they can quote unquote try to get more, the only way white Democrats can try to get more white voters, get more non-black minority voters while still keeping black voters, in the game, is they have to give black voters symbolism, right? They give everybody else, whites, non-blacks, like real tangible stuff, but for black voters, they're going to really only give you symbolic things because they recognize the moment they start giving black Americans real tangible stuff, every other non-black group is going to feel a certain kind of way, right? And they're going to go to the side because once again, okay, Black Americans are the only ones with a real legitimate grievance, right? And also Black Americans are also at the bottom of everybody else. And so as a result, every other group benefits with you being in that position. So that's the reason why white Democrats and white liberals are kind of they always find themselves in a bad position when talking to Black voters, right? Because you're the only ones with real grievance claims, but at the same time, you're also at the bottom, meaning that every other group, it's in every other group's interest to keep you at the bottom. So if they were to do any tangible things that could essentially increase your status, right, every other group will essentially vote against that, right? And they could potentially lose support of all the other groups. So that's why Black voters find themselves in this position where white Republicans don't want to vote because white Republicans have white voters, and white Democrats don't really want to give them anything tangible because they understand that give Black Americans anything tangible, they will essentially push away non-Black voters. So all they can do is give you symbolic things while giving everybody else tangible things. Okay? And so when I see white Republicans online saying, see, that's what you get voting Democrat, I'm like, what are you talking about? Stop being retarded. Republicans do not support reparations of Black Americans. In fact, you guys will actually, when Gavin Newsom put this task force in place, you guys were attacking Gavin Newsom. You were attacking him, right? But see, now that Gavin Newsom is pulling things back and saying, oh, we're not doing that, now all of a sudden you want to pretend as if you care about Black voters? Get the fuck out of my face. But anyway, the fact that Gavin is now coming out and saying, oh, well, slavery is more than money, it tells you everything. But let's keep going.
Saturday, the state's Reparations Task Force approved a long list of proposals that would compensate and apologize to Black Californians for generations of discriminatory policies. It's up to lawmakers to determine what to do with those recommendations. Now, if it's approved, it could cost the state billions of dollars.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more great.
Yeah, and so that's about it, right? And people need to forget that it's just recommendation. That's all it is, okay? There is no law behind it. It's a task force. So all they're going to do is send the recommendations to the parliament, to the legislature, right? And the legislature will decide whether to do anything with it. The fact that Gavin Newsom just came out against proposals, that tells you is they're probably just going to take the recommendations and put it to the side. They are already letting you know, yeah, they're not going to do anything about it. When the task force is done and they give the recommendation, they're not going to do anything about it. Let's be honest here, okay? And so we need to keep all of that in mind. But with that being said, y'all, I'm going to leave it there. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Hammer out.